Hi YouTube, hi YouTube family. So today I'm doing a movie review. This is some new stuff. A movie review on American Son. Now, did I think it was a good movie? Let me preface this. It was an okay movie. American Son is an okay movie. I give it a 6 out of 10. But if you go look at the reviews on like Rotten Tomato, I know, but it's my dog. I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. Not for the reasons that you see the white bigoted people leaving comments under this movie, like leaving like really mean spirited movie reviews about American Son on Rotten Tomato and the audience rating scores. It comes from a place of I think the movie was lacking. I think these conversations that they had were a little too late. And so let me get into it. Subscribe, like, I don't normally say that, but subscribe, like, comment, and let's have a dialogue about American Son because it's not a movie I would watch again. Let me just say that. I'm not watching American Son again. For two reasons. Now, the first is the ending is very painful to watch. Should I give y'all... If you're here, you've probably seen it, so let's talk about it. So the movie starts with Kendra, and she's sitting in a police station, and she hasn't heard from her son in, like 4 to 8 hours? They had an argument like 8 hours ago, and she hasn't heard from her son. And so she goes down to the police station. It's night, and it's raining. The scene is set in one location. This movie was filmed in one location, adapted from the Broadway play, which I think is also a strength and a weakness of the movie. Let's put a bookmark right there. So continuing, we find Kendra, and she's in the police station waiting for information about her son. And so she is greeted by Officer Larkins, and Officer Larkins is the caricature of a white police officer that is a rookie, but also they just can't hide their racism. They wear it on their sleeve. He's that kind of racist cop. He acts very presumptuous and prejudiced questions about Jamal, which is Kendra's son that she's looking for. And Kendra then gets into the topic of race, and she gets in his ass. I'm telling you, she gets in Officer Larkin's ass about it. And there's a sense that why I give this movie at least above a 5 is there, as a black person, there is a sense of validation that I get from watching this movie. Up until the point that Lieutenant Stokes comes, I feel validated as a black person, because it's like, how many times do we get to actually be in the face of our oppressors and have these really insightful dialogues, but you can't feel that some of it is just so mean-spirited. And I'm not saying that to minimize the impact of what she was saying, because police brutality is too real. I have suffered at the hand. This movie sits so well with me because I was a high school student. I was a high school student like Jamal, who got pulled over by the police. But continuing, now, Officer Larkins doesn't have any information to give Kendra this whole time. Kendra, this whole time. And so, okay, we sit here and listen to Kenya talk and get in Officer Larkin's butt about, racism and his prejudice towards the questions he's asking about Jamal in hopes of finding and getting information about Jamal. And this whole time he's holding her off, not wanting to give her any information. And so, scene continuing, a white man walks in, and Officer Larkins thinks that's his lieutenant. Unfortunately, that ain't the right answer, boo. So he comes in talking about there's this ghetto woman yelling at him, and he needs to handle that, and all this, and all that. Okay, moving on. Plot twist, we come to find out that white man, Mr. Scott, is Kendra's estranged husband. Lord child. When I tell you, the adding of that, I think, was very genius. I don't think it was not genius. The problem came when you saw the chemistry between them and the conversations. There's a party going on, a Latinx party going on. I wish I could join, but anyways. So we end up with this couple having a relationship moment, a Jamal moment. Where's Jamal? That is what keeps us here. Where is Jamal? We want to know where Jamal is. And so this whole movie, we're stuck with Kendra and Scott arguing basically about, I feel like, conversations they should have been had. Kendra, were you not studying black feminist texts? You're a psychology professor. You are a psychology professor, and you're telling me that these talks about race just were never had. It just was never. Girl, you can't make me believe that. That's one point. That's one reason why I disliked the movie. Kendra and Scott had no chemistry, and in my notes I wrote down the conversations that they were having about Jamal, about the stereotypes that his father held about why he didn't want him to be even named Jamal, to overestimating the fact that being with other black men only is asking for trouble, to the cornrows, to all that. You don't think this was a little too late? I don't know. I just think these conversations were a little too late for them as a couple. Like, I just don't know. And so, what I will say is that, at least in these moments, at least in that moment, there is a feeling of uncomfortability that you feel throughout the movie. And maybe it comes from having to have the race conversation in the first place. I strongly, extremely believe that is a reason that I do like the movie in some sense. And there's some nuance to, there's nuance to movies. There's nuance to watching movies and why we watch movies and why we like movies. And that's why I think American Son is an okay movie. It talks about police brutality, and I think we shouldn't underestimate and minimize the message that we were trying to get out of that. But in the end, we are screwed. In the end, us as an audience, as a black audience, because the whole time you're supposed to be sitting with Kendra. You sit with Kendra, and I feel like that's the point of the movie. She is the protagonist, but it sometimes feels like she doesn't have any autonomy. And I think that's also a good point to be made, is that she was surrounded by all men. Her only black counterpart was the lieutenant. Okay, so let's bookmark that. Anyways, continuing, Lieutenant Stokes finally shows up as, Officer Larkins re-greets them and gives, Scott the coffee, just black. Anyways, so we end up Scott is in a rumble trying to find out where his son was. We found out a little before that Jamal may have gotten shot because Scott's brother sent him a video of the incident. Anyways, continuing. Lieutenant Stokes comes in and just kills the whole movie. Lieutenant Stokes is Uncle Ruckus. Lieutenant Stokes is here to reinforce the idea of white supremacy and having no autonomy. And having no autonomy in a system and in a hierarchy in the world. He gaslights you into believing that it is your fault you are oppressed. It is your fault they create structures and policies that don't give me access and resources. He's that black man. But the thing is, what contradicts that is, it's supposed to be that Jamal has went to this prestigious school. He's been raised in such a way that he shouldn't be acting black, quote unquote. And I think, and so also Scott is an FBI agent. Scott is an FBI agent. Girl, I'm missing. Girl, I just. You just question why Scott and Kendra got together in the first place. So, Lieutenant Stokes comes here to gaslight the out of us and basically tell us police brutality is not the real problem here. Is us. It's you. You being too black. You got cornrows in your head. You riding around with two black boys. Like, that is what that is the message that we end up getting. At no point should Jamal ever be to blame. And at no point we have not gotten closure as the black people who watch this. We should have gotten closure in some way. We should have examined the intersectionality in some way that had to deal with Kendra literally being the only black woman there to deal with the fact that her black son just got shot by the police. We didn't examine it. We're left with, I think, and maybe that's the point of the movie, we're left with grief, but that grief is minimized in such a way because the movie accomplishes nothing in the end. It accomplishes very much nothing. Lieutenant Stokes is there to be a roadblock is there to be a roadblock into the reasons why black people are still suffering. And honestly, it hurts me in a really deep way to see that the plot twist was race. That these plot twists are often just race characters being introduced. And when we find out that Jamal was shot by another black man, good twist, but is that reality? Is that a reflection of what really would have happened? In 2018, we know that most of the police shootings have been by white people. So, it's really tough. White men, it is really tough to sit here and justify the ending of American Son. We're left with grief, sadness, and a sense of uncomfortability and apathy that we have no autonomy and that we have no self-efficacy. And the point is, that's like half the truth. But why do we have no autonomy and no self-efficacy? And why, if we do have these things, we still have barriers that limit us? I think that's what the film ends up just dropping the glass china. Not that it was china in the first place, it was just glass. Just very transparent and on the sleeve movie. And that's why it's an okay movie. I can't rate it above a 6. Above a 6. It's not a 7. It made me uncomfortable. There's something to be said about black uncomfortability, specifically in watching films that involve police brutality and just talking about race and race being the issue at hand. There's something very uncomfortable about it. And so I think white audiences are very uncomfortable in watching a film in which, we talked about this in my graduate classes, how they feel like they're constantly being microaggressed and X, Y, and Z, and it's all being said, they're going through their own identity process of learning about race and learning about how they either benefit or have been complicit in racism. So I think those reviews, though, that's that white uncomfortability that you're seeing out of those reviews. So yeah, did you see Kerry Washington's face throughout the movie? I give the acting is also like a 5 out of 10. Sometimes you're with distraught Kerry, but sometimes you be like, girl, you're doing too much. And then Scott and Kendra just don't got no chemistry. Overall they play the caricatures of who they're supposed to be very well. But like I said, if I had to give you the reasons why I give this movie a 6 out of 10, it doesn't address the intersectional points at which we're really supposed to see these people outside of their caricatures. It doesn't address, and it actually gaslights and minimizes police brutality in the end, and the perpetrators of who police brutality are, and its victims. And honestly, third child, those facial expressions from Carrie, we about to have to sit through all these memes. Carrie, you had to be made a meme. Ugh. Alright guys, well this was my review of American Son. Comment, like, and let's get a discussion popping. Did you like American Son? Like I said, it was an okay movie. I can't rate it above a 6 out of 10, but let's talk about it.